What if Naruto was the prodigy of the legendary Phoenix family Part 2? If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Disclaimer, I don't own this What If nor Naruto. Surge had been waiting in the occult research club with the Phoenix patriarch for over 3 hours, and to tell the truth all of them were getting worried for their friends and the success of the mission in general. The stakes were high and there was a possibility that if the complications were not handled delicately, then it would cause an international incident with disastrous consequences. Even though it was just a retrieval mission, there was a possibility of things going south because of the numerous variables in play. Remaining members of Ryaz's peerage realized that, hence they were constantly fidgeting and were clearly worried for their fellow members of the peerage. They had every right to worry about them, since the retrieval of the package was supposed to happen in the Vatican City, which is the main base of angels, the nemesis of devils. Surge had sent 2 of his peerage members to see to it that the mission went without a hitch. It shouldn't be taking this long for Greyfire for just a retrieval mission of a 16-year-old devil who is only adopted by the Phoenixes, mused a worried Crimson Satan Lucifer. At best he should be a high-class devil, and someone like Greyfire and Beowulf can easily take care of someone of that caliber, if they prove to be a trouble. Crimson Satan mused further. Surge narrowed his eyes and gave a side glare to the unaware Lord Phoenix. Maybe he is hiding something about his son. There must be something special about him, or else why adopt him? Lord and Lady Phoenix were also getting incredibly worried about their son's health. Unlike their other children, Naruto had not received any kind of formal training from their family, and he was holed up in a place which was very hostile for any devil. They also had so many questions for him, and they expected an answer. What kind of son just leaves one day without leaving any kind of good explanation? Definitely not a good one. They already had a disappointment for a son in Riser Phoenix. He was way too arrogant and had every possible bad habit a juvenile can have. After a heart-wrenching gap of time, a bright light invaded the room of the Occult Research Club, and a teleportation circle of the Greenery family appeared on the floor to reveal the face of 5 members who were responsible for the retrieval of Naruto Phoenix, who were accompanied by our very own blonde hero. Surge's worried expression instantly turned into a frown when he saw the state of his family, peerage members. In layman's term, everybody except Greyfire looked like shit. What the fuck happened? Even the rest of the members of Ryaz's peerage were alarmed after watching the terrible condition of their king and queen, but before they could run towards them and help them, Surge stopped them with a glare. All of them got the message. It was not the time to let emotions control you. The second Lady Phoenix saw Naruto. She ran towards him and gave him a tight slap on his right cheek and then hugged the life out of him. She was crying tears of happiness. Finally, after a decade, her son was returned back to her. For her, this was the happiest day. Nobody dared to interrupt them, not even Surge. Even he knew not to poke the mama bear. I missed you too, Kasan. Naruto replied with a true smile. He was glad to be home. You have grown a lot. When I first met you, you were like only 2.5 feet, but now you are easily around 6 feet in height. Lady Phoenix said with pride. I guess thanks for the compliment, Naruto said with a sweat drop. Ryaz watched this scene and even she felt little sad for Lady Phoenix, and she also got to see Naruto in a new light. At present he didn't seem like a guy who almost killed everyone on her peerage just a few minutes ago. It was like he was able to turn his emotions on and off like a switch. That thought scared her even more. He was acting like a killing machine back in Vatican City when he was beating the crap out of them. Now he was a loving son. Ryaz gritted her teeth when she remembered her shameful defeat at the hands of Naruto. He took her down with a single hit and then proceeded to take down the rest of her peerage within seconds right in front of her eyes. She started to clench her fists so hard that it turned white. I was unable to do anything against him. Sai was also lost to melancholy and his own powerlessness, whereas Akano was still unconscious. Lord Phoenix gave a nod to Naruto, which meant welcome back. Naruto returned the nod back and went to his father to have a little chat with him. After a few minutes of small talk between father and son, Surge donned a smile to cover his own restlessness and interrupted them and said, Naruto-kun, would you mind to go to another room with Rai as his peerage? I would like to have some talk with your parents here. Surge made it sound like a request, but in fact it was an order. He also said it loud enough for everyone to hear it. Ryaz and her peerage had already started moving into other room. Naruto always got annoyed when someone gave him any orders. He wasn't the type to follow orders, but he didn't want to cause any more troubles. He was already in deep shit with the beating he gave to his retrieval team. That is why he complied. After 2 minutes there were only the Phoenix Patriarchs. Surge and his peerage were also present in the Occult Research Club room. What do you want to talk about, Surge-san? I still have to ask so many things from my son, retorted Lord Phoenix, who clearly didn't want to have this conversation. Surge asked with a strict tone, why did you adopt Naruto-kun, Phoenix-san? Adoption rarely ever happens in a family as powerful as yours. In fact, it is frowned upon. Both Lord and Lady Phoenix got incredibly nervous after Surge asked the question, and they knew he was not going to budge until he got a satisfactory answer. After some time they collected themselves and said, when we first met him he was bleeding incredibly and was unconscious in our garden. We thought that he was going to die. But then miraculously his wounds started healing rapidly right in front of us like a phoenix, and he also looked so much like a phoenix that we couldn't ignore it. Lord Phoenix concluded with a sigh. After he woke up we questioned him about his wounds, but he never told us anything. The boy was too traumatized to say anything about the unfortunate incident, added Lord Phoenix. Then we adopted him into our family, and we were also in great need of a strong son. For us it was like heavens were being merciful. We have lots of hope for him, said Lady Phoenix with a calm tone, but everyone could see the fire in her eyes. Clearly, your son is strong. He managed to harm so many of our people, including my king's pawn and sister. Greyfire replied with a chilly tone. That is not possible. He received no kind of formal education or training from our family. He shouldn't be strong enough to defeat a group of devils with such a promising future. Lady Phoenix expressed since the logic was found. Lord Phoenix was now patting his chin and was trying to make sense of the situation since it was deteriorating by the second. Something might have happened to Naruto during his self-imposed exile. Before we make any kind of conclusions, Iron Beowulf would like to debrief the mission. It will make the situation clear, which will allow us to get to a rational decision, suggested Greyfire with her usual stern maid mode. Greyfire and Beowulf started to explain things which occurred in their last mission. Phoenix Matron and Surge first listened out in curiosity, and then their eyebrows shot up because of astonishment on the young Phoenix's accomplishment. You got to be kidding me, Greyfire. Do you mean to say that he was able to defeat an entire group of devils by himself? Surge asked with his jaw hanging on the ground. All facts pointed that he shouldn't be this powerful. This raised even more questions. Surge thought that some angels might have interfered for this much damage to happen, but clearly that was not the case. Even Lord and Lady Phoenix were left speechless. They only had one thought: what have you been doing for the last 10 years, Naruto-kun? He was able to take us down systematically by using only his physical prowess, and his holy sword. I believe he was using the legendary Kusanagi. That in itself raises a lot of alarms, Beowulf said with a grave and shameful tone, since he was again reminded of his quick defeat against that monster of a phoenix. Surge was thinking of various scenarios to take care of the situation, and he was drawing a blank, but one thing was clear: this kid should be put under surveillance no matter what. He is so much of a threat, we know nothing about him. After the biblical gods' death, some devils showed some affinity to light magic, but to able to wield something like Kusanagi was entirely new thing. You could have easily avoided the problem by just asking him to come back with you to home. Why didn't you do that, Greyfire? Asked Surge to satiate his growing curiosity, because she didn't act like a good leader, which was unlike her. He would often make bad decisions, but Greyfire never made an uneducated move. Now all attention was on her, even Beowulf was looking at her for an answer. Greyfire gave a sigh. It was because of his magical power, she stated. What about his magical power? Questioned Lord Phoenix. It was humongous, maybe even greater than mine, which easily puts him in the low Satan level. So the second I sensed such massive reserves, the mission was no longer just a retrieval, but this mission gained another objective, which was to gather intelligence on our target, explained Greyfire to the best of her ability. Now all of them were dumbfounded after hearing Greyfire say that, to hear someone so young have such reserves for magic. It was unreal. Both of the parents were incredibly proud, and at the same time their son's unreal progress raised alarms on their conscience and mind. Since power came with a price tag, I also have reasons to believe that what he showed us in Vatican City barely scraped the true depth of his power, since he didn't use any kind of magic against us, and even then, if not for me, none of us would have come back alive," added Greyfire with a grave tone. "He is the strongest Phoenix in the recent history of Phoenix family. He is stronger than Phoenix San's oldest son Ruval Phoenix. One thing which I am absolutely sure of, his immense physical capabilities which he demonstrated in our fight. To tell the truth, it was more of a massacre than a fight," said Beowulf with a shame clearly visible in his voice. "We also don't have any idea of the identity of his peerage members," added Beowulf, since he was pretty sure this Naruto kid's companions were anything but powerful. Serge and Greyfire were now thinking of all the changes the Phoenix's youngest son would bring, and they didn't like it. Naruto was a variable of which they had no idea whatsoever. Everything about him was shrouded in a veil of mystery, and whatever they were able to procure about him were made on half-reliable facts. This made them uneasy. The parents of Naruto were glad for his achievements in last decade. At present they didn't care about anything, since after a long time their son was home. That's all mattered. They didn't want to think too much and ruin the joyous mood. Nevertheless, their mood was ruined by Serge and his queen's next statement. "Your firstborn son is soon going to be promoted to the ultimate class devil, and then suddenly you claim to have a younger son who appears donning the colors of Phoenix proudly on his back," said Serge with a suspicious undertone. "A broken bar. Who is at present considered as strong as a low-level Satan. No matter how you see it, Phoenix clan will be receiving a lot of attention in the future," finished Greyfire for her king with the same undertone. After hearing that, Lord Phoenix gritted his teeth and fire started coming out from the entirety of his being, and he snarled, "Are you accusing us for his disappearance? Do you think I would do that to my own son? Banish him and tell him not to return until he is strong enough." Even Lady Phoenix's eyes were now as cold as ice. How dare he insinuate something like that? Serge brought both of his hands in upright position to show that he surrendered and didn't mean any disrespect by bringing his thoughts into open. "I mean no such thing, Phoenix-san, but you have to agree that Phoenix-san, your son's timing appears suspicious, and other families might feel threatened by it. They might take actions which might be unsavory." After hearing Serge say that, he calmed down, but the atmosphere was still tense in the Occult Research Club. Serge really didn't mean any harm, but he had to be sure about some things, since this man was going to marry his baby sister, and as far as first impressions go, Naruto really didn't get any points for that from Ryaz. At present Ryaz might hate Naruto more than Riser for nearly killing her pawn. Naruto didn't just try to kill Sai, but he went further and humiliated him. Ryaz considered her peerage a part of her family, and to nearly lose sight to her so-called future husband might have really shook her core. What a mess has this turned out to be? Thought Serge. Maybe we can talk to the man himself later, this will clear most of the misconceptions, suggested Lord Phoenix. He really wanted to be just done with this mess. Serge nodded his head, clearly taking a liking to the idea. Talking might clear things in this situation. Meanwhile, in the other room of the Club, a broken bar, Naruto followed the rest of the Ryas peerage to the room next to Occult Research Club. All of the peerage members were looking at him with suspicion. Even a small blonde girl was glaring at him, but it looked more cute than intimidating. The blonde girl started healing everybody with her sacred gear, Twilight Healing. She started healing with Akano, who was unconscious and according to Naruto was on the verge of waking up because of the moans she was making. Her sacred gear is interesting, though Naruto for a moment. Ryas was trying her best to ignore Naruto, Since she didn't know how she felt about him, with his parents he acted like a decent being, but when he was fighting he didn't show any kind of emotion. It was as if nothing mattered. She didn't want to admit it, but she was scared of him. He wasn't normal even by their standards. Naruto knew that he had to clear some things with Rias or else they will get worse with time. In other words, he decided to apologize for kicking their ass back in Vatican City. Rias-san, can we talk for a minute? I need to resolve some matters with you and your peerage for that matter, asked Naruto with a kind smile. He didn't want to intimidate her, it will bring no benefits whatsoever. Rias turned around and stared at Naruto right into his eyes and said with a chilly tone, I am listening a broken bar. Akano had already woken up after getting healed by Asia and now Sai was also watching the proceedings with great interest. I don't want to delay this, but I am sorry for hurting you and your peerage back in my base. I thought you were an enemy and I did what I had to do to defend myself, Naruto said sincerely. Rias gritted her teeth and said you could have easily subdued us but you came with the intent to kill. If not for Greyfire all of us would have died because of you. Sai also agreed with Buku with this one, he could have easily subdued us. Buku is right, someone like you could have easily subdued us. Why come up with the intent to kill? She and her peerage are incredibly annoying. My patience is running thin. Thought Naruto with barely restraining anger, but he decided to endure. He was no longer the boy who made decisions based on his emotions. He was taught better by his teachers. First of all, if I came at you with the intent to kill, none of you would have been alive except Greyfire. She is strong but not strong enough to protect you and fight me at the same time, Naruto said with a calm tone. Sai also got angry on the last statement, but not because of Naruto, it was him and his own powerlessness to do anything against him. He clenched his fists so hard that his hands turned white. He still remembered how Naruto destroyed him, it was like he was playing around. Even though he wasn't going to make his apologizing any easy. You did try to kill me with your sword, mentioned Sai with an accusing tone. Now everybody were looking at Naruto for an answer. I didn't try to kill you, Sekai Uriote, I was just going to maim you. At best you would have lost a limb or two. Then I would have tortured you for some answers, replied Naruto with a sheepish expression. Everybody had a sweat dropped, thinking that killing would have been better than torture. Sai's face paled after hearing what Naruto was going to do to him. He is crazy. Rias wanted to give a piece of her mind, but before she could say anything Naruto said, I even gave you enough time to explain yourselves before our little altercation. If you would have explained yourselves then nothing of this sort would have happened. Why didn't you do that, Rias-san? Rias blushed like a tomato and remembered what she was doing at that time. She was checking him out. Rias spluttered a lot of times trying to give a reason but ended up embarrassing herself. I am the one at fault here. Thought an embarrassed Rias. Arabuku, he is right. Anyways, none of us were harmed, there are just some bruises, said Akano with her usual playful tone. He was going to torture Sai, he really must know some techniques. I hope he will teach me. Naruto saw a blushing Akano and said with a honey-like voice, thank you for being so understanding. I really appreciate it. Akano blushed even harder. Rias had a massive tick mark above her head. Naruto was ignoring her, but then he turned around. Look, it doesn't have to be like this. I know we started on a wrong foot, but give me another chance. Let me make it up to you, Rias-san, Naruto said with the same sincere tone. Rias blushed a cherry red and she spluttered again, but she managed to say easily, okay. Sai was crying anime tears in the background because Naruto managed to solve a tough situation just by using sweet words. He is just like Kiba, in that regards. Bastard. Where are the changing rooms? I would like to change into something which will not draw so much attention, asked Naruto. Changing rooms are right around the corner, said Rias while at the same time pointing to the direction to the changing room. Naruto gave a nod and vanished to the changing rooms in a culture search club. After some time, Surges and the Phoenix matrons entered the room of the younger devils, followed by the members of the Surges peerage, which included Greyfire and Beowulf. Where is Naruto-kun? Asked Lady Phoenix. Before Ryas could answer her, Naruto voiced himself from Surge's back. "I am right here, Kasan," replied Naruto with a cheery tone. Naruto was wearing a white shirt with wrinkle-free black pants, and he was also wearing a black blazer which looked incredibly good on him. He kept two of the shirt's buttons open to show a little of his well-sculpted chest. Ryas and Akano immediately blushed after watching him in such a formal attire. He looked handsome and fierce at the same time. He said he didn't want to attract any attention, as if his present clothing helps him. Thought Ryas with her still furious blush. Surge's thoughts were running on an entire opposite direction as compared to Ryas. "I didn't even sense him." Surge's thought gravely but nevertheless maintained his bubbly personality. "Naruto-san, we would like to have a conversation with you later, maybe we can do it in the underworld?" Naruto gave a nod. "I would like that. It's about time that I returned back to my home. I want to feel her very beating heart," said Naruto, showing some of his enthusiasm. "Let's do that." Lord Phoenix clapped his hands and a teleportation circle of the Phoenix family appeared beneath the feet of Naruto and Surge's spirit, and they vanished from the Occult Research Club, leaving only Ryas and her peerage. Phoenix Mansion, a broken bar. Lord Phoenix teleported himself and his companions to his study room in the Phoenix Mansion to get some answers from his wayward son. Lord Phoenix's study was very extravagant, with a teak desk and a small mini bar in the corner of the room filled with the most exotic scotches in the underworld. The study room was archaic in nature and had big windows which had brilliant view of thick trees and nature in general. There was also a dartboard attached to the front wall of the desk and some darts were attached to it. Naruto made his way to minibar and poured himself half a glass of raw whiskey with only ice and started taking some sips from it and started playing with a dart which was there in the minibar. "So let's get to the point and tell me what you want to know, but keep in mind that I won't be answering all of your questions." Naruto's cheery tone instantly changing into a cold and stern one. Everyone was a little surprised to see sudden change in his behavior, but nevertheless asked their questions, starting with Lady Phoenix. "Where were you all these years?" Lady Phoenix asked with a concerned tone. Naruto gave a small smile. His mother always knew how to make him calm. "I was in a lot of places. Budapest, Prague, Vatican City, Olympus, the list goes on." A broken bar. Everybody's eyes widened when Naruto mentioned the last place. Olympus is a place where the Greek gods resided. Nobody was allowed to just enter there on a whim. "What were you doing in Olympus, Naruto-kun?" Lady Phoenix asked again before anyone else could. Everyone could clearly see that she was worried. "I was on a mission for Lord Zeus, can't give the details, they are classified," said Naruto with a stern tone before Surge could question him further. "Why did you leave us in the first place, Naruto-kun?" "We were heartbroken. We had every reason to believe that you were already dead." This time it was Lord Phoenix who demanded answer with a sad face. Clearly his old age was catching up to him. "I am sorry for doing that. I would like to give a decent reason, but the truth is I wanted to become strong, but at the same time I also wanted to visit different places and learn new things," replied Naruto, and he was clearly serious. This time Lord Phoenix showed some anger. "We could have easily provided with all kinds of training you needed to make yourself stronger." A broken bar. Naruto raised his right hand, stopped his father before he could speak any further. "No, you could have never made me as powerful as I am today, even you know that. My strength is a strength which is achieved by being in numerous life and death situation. No kind of training can give me that. In last 10 years I had a go all." A broken bar. "What was it?" asked Surge, barely concealing his curiosity about the enigma this Naruto Phoenix is. "To survive and flourish. To do this I had to become someone else, I had to become something else," finished Naruto with a calm tone. "The only reason I survived this endeavor was because of Utah." A broken bar. Naruto points at his parents. "You both give me the strength, because I knew that you both loved me, and no matter how much of a trouble I am in, I always had a place to return back to. My home." A broken bar. By this point even Naruto had some stray tears rolling down his cheek. Lady Phoenix ran to her son and gave him a huge hug. Lord Phoenix also followed his wife and also gave him a hug. "You're home now," said the parents of Naruto together. What a brave boy. Doing something like this takes strength. No wonder he is so powerful in such young age. These were the similar thoughts which were running in both Serge and his queen. In the room of a culture search club, two individuals were having a fierce match of chess, trying to outclass each other a broken bar. Well, at least one of them was trying to put a fierce match. Suna frowned after watching her childhood friend not paying enough attention to the game. Clearly, she is bothered by something, thought Suna with a frown marring her face. Suna was a young bespectacled woman in her late teens with a slim figure, black hair styled in a short bob cut and deep violet eyes which seemed to penetrate a person's being. She was also the third most popular girl in the Kuai Academy after Ryas and Akano Himejima. Suna was popular for being the president of the student council in Kuai Academy, but in Underworld she was known as the heiress to the Saitree family, who were one of the most powerful family in the Underworld. They had the designation of prince in the Underworld. Checkmate, declared Suna a bit without her usual enthusiasm for defeating her childhood friend. Ryaz, after her humiliating defeat, finally came to her senses and frowned to show her displeasure that was rather quick. Maybe I am having a lousy day. Suna was now getting frustrated by her friend's clumsy behavior and decided to do something about it. Is it Naruto Phoenix-san who is eating your mind right now? Asked Suna with a raised eyebrow. Ryaz's eye widened and she comically pointed at her friend and asked her rather loudly, how do you know about him? It's hard to not know about him. You might not be informed about this, but at present all the attention is concentrated on the Phoenix family. Their oldest son is going to be promoted to the ultimate class devil, and then rumors of their youngest son to be as strong as a Satan is going around a broken bar. And finally I heard from my sister about your impending engagement with Naruto-san, a broken bar. Do you want to talk about it? Suna asked the last part wryly, since she wasn't sure that whether she would be of any help to Ryaz. She wasn't exactly known for relationship advice. In fact, she might be the worst person to talk about it. I am so glad that you asked. To tell the truth, I am happy that I got rid of my engagement with Riser a broken bar. Suna gave a nod and encouraged her to continue. A broken bar. But I am not sure how I feel about Naruto-san. You should have seen him, Suna. When I first met him we got into an altercation, a broken bar. And then he proceeded to take down my brother's pawn and took down the entirety of my peerage within seconds, like we didn't even matter, said Ryaz with a worried expression. It was hard for her to forget those eyes when Naruto attacked them. They had no emotions in them whatsoever. They were chips of ice, so cold that they would freeze the underworld in a moment's notice. Suna raised an eyebrow when she heard her friend talk about Naruto Phoenix. She didn't know that Ryaz was responsible for the retrieval of Naruto Phoenix. So, he is really that strong despite being the same age as us. I didn't quite believe my sister when she said that. Suna thought with a frown. Ryaz decided to continue from where she left of a broken bar. Then when he met his parents, he was so soft and caring. I could see it in his eyes that he really loved them and he wanted to protect them no matter what happened. In the end, I am still not sure whether I want to spend the rest of my life with him, a broken bar. Everything about him is a mystery. Suna closed her eyes and started contemplating about the situation to help her friend and rival. I also have a meeting to attend today with the Phoenix family. They want to renegotiate the terms of marriage with the Greenery family. Personally, I would rather not get married until I get to know the other participant better, concluded Ryaz with a sigh. After looking into the situation, Suna gave a smirk to Ryaz. Last time when your marriage with Riser was announced, you were downright enraged, but this time you are to a broken bar calm. Do you have some sort of crush on Naruto-san? Ryaz's face turned cherry red after her friend's accusation. She spluttered for a few seconds but was not able to say anything. Suna just gave a small mirthful chuckle for her friend's misfortune, whereas Ryaz just glared at her childhood friend. Before the fight between them could escalate any further, Akano made her presence known. She arrived using a teleportation circle. Buku, the preparations are done, we can move out to the Phoenix mansion for the meeting. It would be better if we move out as soon as we can, Akano said with a serious voice. Ryaz gave a stiff nod, which meant that she agreed with Akano. Suna just gave an understanding sigh. All the best, Ryaz. I hope that the meeting is fortunate for you. Ryaz just nodded back and disappeared with her queen from the occult research club using a teleportation circle. Somewhere in London, a broken bar. In an underground tavern in London, a bar fight was going on between two individuals who were fighting topless. One of them was a bald man with buffed muscles and he had a huge figure somewhere around 6 feet 7 inches, and another man had blonde hair with well-defined chest and abs, but he didn't look as intimidating as the earlier mentioned person. In fact, he was rather lean and good-looking but didn't seem like a guy who could take a beating, yet here he was letting the other men hit him like crazy while the blonde guy was just chuckling as if he didn't even felt the punches. He was none other than our favorite hero Naruto, who had tendency to piss other people off, namely the people who had bet on him losing. Rip his balls off. Kill that bastard. Eat a giant dick, you blonde bastard. Naruto was just smiling and was taking the beating, but then his eyes went towards a beautiful woman who was sitting in the bar while drinking a glass of wine while holding his shirt and blazer. The woman had beautiful green eyes and red hair which were tied into a pony using a maroon ribbon in a bow shape. She was wearing a Victorian-style dress which generally royal women wear for high-end parties. It did nothing to hide her figure. Naruto's eyes started to wander towards her assets, which were neither too big nor too small. They were just perfect. She looked absolutely gorgeous and gentle, but she had no place in a run-down tavern. Heck, no woman should be present in a place like this, and above all Naruto knew the woman. This made it harder for him to concentrate. That momentary distraction cost Naruto, and he received a massive right hook from the bald Hulk to his face. However, Naruto managed to maintain his balance and didn't fall into the dirt, embarrassing himself. He is going down, Naruto thought, and gave a heated glare to his opponent. The woman made a gasp and stood up, but before she could do anything, Naruto gave a hard slap to the opponent's ears using both of his hands, and then his arms blurred and gave 2 punches to the Hulk right in his ribs, and then he proceeded to give a massive left hook to the unfortunate soul's jaw, which broke the second Naruto's fist made contact. Naruto wasn't done with his assault yet, then he made a backflip and kicked him right at his cranium, effectively shutting the enemy down. Everybody's jaw was hanging on the ground. All of the hits from the blonde man happened in a fraction of seconds. The very man who was getting his ass kicked just moments ago. Naruto made his way to the woman who was holding his shirt and blazer. Nobody dared to block his way. In fact, many of them were giving him the loathing respect which he deserved. Naruto came close to the woman with very little steps, and before the lady knew, he was right in front of her, his face so close to her that a little push and their lips would collide. The lady sported a small blush, but it was hard to determine whether the blush was because of the wine or was it because a topless Naruto was so close to her. Naruto just gave a blank expression, and then he snatched his shirt and blazer and started wearing them one by one, so that he looked decent. Naruto, after wearing his clothing, gave a smile and said, "Why are you here, Akasha? You shouldn't be here in a place like this. It's dangerous, you know?" Akasha gave a scathing glare to Naruto. "I am a Shinso vampire, I am pretty sure I can handle myself, and don't you dare to change the subject, Naruto. I was forced to come here after you cut any kind of contact between me, broken bar. Your own queen. I am supposed to be with you at all times." The now identified woman said the last part in a whisper. "A broken bar? You didn't even introduce the other members of your peerage to me," Akasha concluded out loud. Naruto just gave a sigh. He knew that the moment he made Akasha his queen, she was going to be left out of a lot of things, since she wasn't like the other members of his peerage. All the other members were his previous comrades who he had fought together with in the Fourth Great Shinobi War. Naruto enveloped Akasha in a hug and pulled her close. "I'm sorry for everything, Akasha, for not contacting you and leaving you a broken bar. That wasn't right. You must have been worried. You are my queen, you are supposed to know everything about me. Don't you worry, Akasha, I will make this right." A broken bar. Naruto lied using honey-like words. It left a bad taste in his mouth, but there was not a way in hell that he was going to tell her everything about him. It would put him and the rest of his peerage in a great danger. He could never do that, but deep down he wished that he could talk about idol broken bar. Deep down he wished that he could talk about it to hear a broken bar, his queen a broken bar. Akasha blood driver. Akasha was stunned when she was suddenly enveloped in a hug from Naruto. As far as she knew, he wasn't the type to do these sort of things. He was always aloof and non-caring about things. Yet here she was hugged by Naruto. She had never been hugged like this in age as a broken bar, especially not after that failed relationship with Issa. After a minute which felt like ages to Akasha, Naruto released her from his grip and gave a heartwarming smile which brought a blush on Akasha's face. I need you to go to a meeting in the Phoenix Manor. Even I don't know what the meeting is about, but I will come sometime later. I have some work in Switzerland. Akasha gave a nod and then Naruto clapped his hands loudly. Akasha got teleported to Phoenix Manor as Naruto used a teleportation circle. Naruto used a spell that made other people lose their memories, since he didn't want other people to know more about devils, especially seedy people of this tavern, and then he disappeared in a yellow flash to Switzerland. Phoenix Manor, a broken bar. Surges and his wife Greyfire, Lord and Lady Gremory, Ryaz and the rest of her peerage were sitting comfortably in the sofas of the living room in the Phoenix Manor with Lord and Lady Phoenix. Both of your sons are late, Phoenix-san. Do they plan to make an appearance today? Asked Lord Gremory in a joking manner, but deep down he was serious. He got the information that Phoenix family had an even younger son than Riser from Surges. This information changed the marriage circumstances. It was absolutely necessary that they go through all the required meetings to get to a proposal which satisfied both the parties. It was great to know that according to Surges the younger son was better as compared to Riser, but that didn't calm his worries. He wanted to meet the devil in question face to face, so that he himself could ascertain that what kind of devil this Naruto was. Ryaz and her peerage were stoic and didn't reveal any kind of emotions, but deep inside they were in turmoil. Ryaz didn't know how the meeting was going to proceed, and that worried her a lot. Sai didn't want Buka to get married for obvious reasons like love and lust. Akano and rest of the peerage were worried for their Buku friend, since it was a very important meeting which would decide their king's fate. Soon a bright light invaded the Phoenix's living room and two devils made their presence known. They were none other than Riser Phoenix and his queen Ubeluna. Mother, you called me, what's up? Riser asked a little disrespectfully, but then his eyes went towards Ryaz and he gave a grin. Ryaz-chan, are you here to meet your future husband? I never pegged you as the type to initiate these sort of things, said Riser with a lecherous expression. Ubeluna eyed Ryaz and then gave a smirk. Ryaz gave an aura of disgust and growled, I am not here to marry you. Riser started to glow orange and hot fire started to surround his very being like a blanket. It seemed like he would attack any moment, but before he could make any type of movement, Lord Phoenix snarled and was clearly agitated. Riser, stop embarrassing yourself more than you already have, or else I will take necessary action, Sir Broken Bar. Lord Phoenix aired his threat and it had an immediate effect on Riser. He shut his mouth and gave a small tch, showing his displeasure. Surges immediately made a small talk to lighten the mood. Mama, a broken bar. Phoenix Ogi-san, please control yourselves. These young devils are always hot-blooded. Lord and Lady Gremory gave a nervous chuckle to show their discomfort, but deep down they were glad that this man wasn't going to marry their daughter. They already had a plan to annul this contract, but by some intervention they would not have to take any actions to see to it that the contract gets broken. This man is not good for Buku. Sai thought with disgust and had every intention to blast the yakitori. He completely ignored the fact that he himself is quite similar to Riser. Akano and Konko had similar thoughts like Sai. Konko was even gave a scathing glare to Riser to show her displeasure with perverts. Before the tension could rise any further, a teleportation circle from the Phoenix family appeared. So Naruto is finally here. Ryaz thought eagerly, but she was surprised to see that it wasn't Naruto but instead it was a beautiful woman. A very beautiful woman, a broken bar. Now everybody's attention was on Akasha. The second Surges and Greyfire's eyes went towards the redhead. Their eyes widened because they knew the said woman too well. She was popularly known as the Queen of the Damned because whoever fought with her was always damned to hell, a broken bar. One should never judge a person on their pretty face. Both Serge and Greyfire learned that from Akasha. Since Akasha, despite portraying the epitome of gentleness, was an incredibly dangerous individual. She was a Shino vampire. That title itself put her on top of the most influential persons list. What the hell is she doing here? Thought Greyfire and Serge with a frantic expression, but they didn't show any emotions outside. Riser and Sai started eyeing the woman with their trademark lecherous expression, but didn't make any moves to hit on the woman. Lord and Lady Phoenix also raised an eyebrow after witnessing Akasha Bloodiver have a stroll on their manor. Their guts was telling them that Naruto was responsible for this. What a pleasure. I never expected to meet the Crimson Satan and his queen outside of the battlefield, Akasha said in a teasing tone. Last time when Akasha and Greyfire met, it didn't end well for the ultimate queen. Greyfire just gave a snort and asked, "Why are you here, Akasha? What business could you possibly have in the underworld?" Akasha just gave a pleasant smile which did nothing to uplift the nervousness in the Phoenix manner. "I'm just here in behalf of my king Naruto Phoenix-sama. He will be a little late since he had other commitments to attend to." With that, Akasha dropped the bomb on the already tense situation. Greyfire's eyes widened to epic proportions. Clearly, even after all of her mental capacity, she couldn't believe that Akasha Bloodiver would ever follow a devil. She's a Shino vampire, her pride should never allow her to claim fealty. Especially to someone like Naruto. Was I too quick to deem Naruto as no threat? Serge thought with a frown. "You are that bastard's queen," Riser snarled out. The second Akasha heard Riser bad-mouthing about Naruto, the pressure in the room increased to astronomical levels. Cracks started to appear in the Phoenix mansion. Ryaz and her peerage were on their knees barely breathing. Asia was already unconscious because of the incredible pressure of pure magic in the room. Riser Queen's Yubeluna was already panting like her life depended on it. Serge, Greyfire and the rest of the elder devils had a small bead of sweat running through their forehead. Ryaz didn't know what to do. For all her training, she didn't have a clue how to handle such kind of pressure. Akano was also in the same boat with Ryaz. Kiba and Konko were scared out of their mind. They had never fought an opponent like her, and Akasha wasn't even looking at them. Now, they felt pity for Riser, who was having the whole brunt of her killing intent. What is this feeling of death? Sai thought frantically. He was scared out of his mind. Riser's eyes started watering and he nearly pissed his pants, but then he controlled himself. He didn't want to embarrass himself in front of his brother's queen. He just gave a defiant glare. Akasha just gave a cruel smirk, totally opposite of her personated gentle personality. "You are just an ant compared to Naruto. Don't ever try to defy him, he will kill you without a single thought." A broken bar. Riser gritted his teeth. He wanted to go on a rampage, but he was more than intimidated by this woman. He was afraid. The pressure which dominated the Phoenix Manor lifted after Akasha was done giving her punishment to Riser. Lord and Lady Phoenix just sighed and shook their head for Riser's stupidity. "Well, now a small issue has been taken care of, let's continue with the meeting." A broken bar, Akasha encouraged with a sweet smile, though this time she wasn't fooling anyone. Ryaz and her peerage just gave a nervous chuckle to diffuse the situation. Ryaz was intimidated by Akasha. Akasha was strong and incredibly beautiful woman, much more so than her. It seemed like Naruto had a very high standard for his female companions. Ryaz was afraid that he would reject the marriage contract. She could not let that happen. Lord Gremory cleared his throat with a cough. "Akasha-san, we are here to discuss the marriage between the next Gremory heir and the youngest son of Phoenix family, Naruto." "Phoenix-san." Riser had an enraged look on his face and he screamed out, "What?" Before Riser could make the situation worse, Lord Phoenix gave him a glare which promised a lot of pain if he didn't shut his mouth. Riser gritted his teeth and clenched his fists until it turned white because of the lack of blood. Akasha eyed Ryaz for a minute, then gave a dark glare. "I am incredibly sorry, but we can't accept this marriage proposal. I see no need for my king to be married at such young age." A broken bar. Akasha stressed on the word "my," which didn't go unnoticed by Ryaz. Ryaz frowned and returned the glare to Akasha with equal force. Who the hell was she to decide Naruto's preference? She wasn't going to let the marriage contract be annulled without a fight. Even if the opponent was Akasha Blood Driver, if she didn't get to marry Naruto, then she would be forced to marry the dirtbag Riser. She wasn't going to let that happen. Ryaz decided to give Akasha a piece of her mind, but before she could implement on that a broken bar. Akasha-san is absolutely right, I see no need for this marriage. Anyways, I am too young to be married, and at this moment of my life marriage would be nothing more than a crutch which will drag me down a broken bar. With that, Naruto made his presence known. Akasha gave a small smile the second she recognized Naruto's voice. She was getting incredibly uncomfortable because of this stupid meeting. Ryaz was heartbroken the second she heard Naruto say that this marriage will act as nothing more than a crutch for him. Is that what he thinks about me? A crutch? Which will drag him down. She didn't know whether to be sad or angry. One thing was sure, she didn't felt good when Naruto didn't accept this marriage. She didn't know why, but something about Naruto attracted him a lot. He was donning the same wrinkle-free black pants and white shirt with a blazer over the top. Naruto had a small brown leather shoulder bag. Naruto gave a small smile and passed the bag towards his father. Lord Phoenix just raised an eyebrow. What is this, Naruto, and why are you giving this to me? Naruto gave a smirk that is 17 billion euros in German bearer bonds, a broken bar. According to Phoenix clan laws, 15% of the profits earned by the son of a Phoenix household should be deposited in the Phoenix treasury, a broken bar. So I am doing just that. All the devils including Riser had their jaw on the ground. That was a lot of money to earn in just 10 years with no resources of Phoenix family to boost your earning. Lord Phoenix just gave a chuckle. That's great. Seriously, what have you been doing the last 10 years? Maybe I will think about joining in your business, or broken bar, mused Phoenix head. Naruto just gave smirk. Let's just say that whoever said that crime doesn't pay a broken bar. Was so wrong. Everybody had a massive sweat drop when they heard Naruto define crime in such an invigorating way. Naruto then made a sigh and looked towards Ryaz. This decision is better for everyone. The way you are now, Ryaz-san, you won't even survive an engagement with me, let alone marriage, a broken bar. Vinyan Agrimari gave a curious glance. What do you mean by that, Naruto-kun? In last 10 years I have progressed a lot, but a broken bar. I have made this progress by angering a lot of strong individuals who hate my guts just because I exist, a broken bar. I would rather not go into details, but you get the gist. Naruto replied with an unusually calm tone. Ryaz was enraged because the way Naruto put it. It made her look weak, and she wasn't going to let that go. Are you implying that I am weak? Ryaz asked with an enraged tone. Naruto didn't even hesitate a moment to answer Ryaz. Yes, Ryaz, you and your entire peerage is weak. You know I have been keeping tabs on all of the new and upcoming devils. Ryaz, you have the most dysfunctional peerage I know of, a broken bar. Ryaz had some tears running down, but Naruto didn't stop. You have knight with mental problems, then you have queen who fights with only half the strength, and to top it off, your rook is a Nekozu who can't use Senjutsu, a broken bar. And that vampire which you were not able to control, a broken bar. The list just goes on. A broken bar. Sai was pissed. He could handle anything but watching Buka cry like that. It made his blood boil. He couldn't take it anymore. Naruto, you bastard, how you dare made Buka cry? With that, Sai activated his boosted gear. Naruto just spared a glance towards Sai and then sighed, a broken bar. And I totally forgot to mention the weakest Sekai Uryutai in the history of Underworld. To be frank with you, Ryaz, I hold more power in the tip of my finger than you and your entire peerage hold in your very body. Sai was going to attack Naruto with his very might, but Greyfire stopped him with a glare, but that didn't stop him from shaking with anger. Ryaz now had free tears running down her cheek. Naruto finally noticed that, and he felt guilty. He never wanted to make her cry. A broken bar. The problem here is not you, it's me, broken bar. Even after all I achieved over the years, the only thing which I can give you is a horrible life filled with misery and regrets, where your life is in a constant danger, broken bar. On my good conscience I can't do that. Naruto lost himself in his melancholy. Ryaz finally looked at Naruto and he looked so sad and vulnerable at that time, but then he turned his head towards her and gave her a warm smile. A broken bar, the least I can do is see to it that you are free. That is why you will not be married to anyone in the Phoenix household at Broken Bar. I assure you that you will have your freedom. I guess a broken bar ... that makes it a broken bar ... better. Ryaz replied in between sobs. Naruto came close to Ryaz until there was no space between them and he started wiping her tears with his handkerchief. Don't cry, tears don't suit you, a broken bar, replied Naruto in a very loving way. Ryaz now spotted a full-blown blush, whereas Akasha was sporting massive tick marks and was clearly annoyed by the scene. Riser was beyond enraged. First, his bastard brother came and totally ignored him, and then he proceeded to steal his bride and finally embarrassed him by presenting his monumental success in the last decade. I am not going to accept this farce, a broken bar. Ryaz will be married to me. Broken bar, Riser snarled out. He didn't even try to hide his hate for the youngest Phoenix. Riser wasn't allowed to finish his rant because Lord Phoenix stood up and slapped him right across his face. Riser was stunned. His father had never slapped him, in fact he had never even touched him in his whole life. For him to slap him in front of everyone, a broken bar. For first time in his life Riser was ashamed of himself, a broken bar. He had gone so far over the years that his own father had to slap him to get him out of his delusions. That's enough, Riser, a broken bar, Lord Phoenix said, but his pain was clearly visible. I am sorry, Gremory-san, but this marriage contract is null and void. We can no longer accept it, a broken bar. Lord Gremory just gave a nod to show that he understood the circumstances. Surges and Greyfire also supported the decision. Sai was glad that Buku wasn't getting married. Even he had dreams with Ryaz which included him marrying her. Naruto was glad that he was able to defuse the situation without using force, because it could have taken the turn for worse with him having to fight Riser. He knew that he could easily defeat him, but that would have ended up him showing some of his cards. He liked to be anonymous with his skills. Suddenly Naruto's danger senses started to go haywire and he moved towards left, allowing him to dodge a holy dagger, but now the dagger was making his way straight towards Riser. Riser's whole life started to appear right in front of him. The second he saw a holy dagger making his way close directly where his heart was located. He knew that he wasn't going to die, but he was speechless that anybody would be nuts enough to attack them right in the comfort of their home. Naruto narrowed his eyes and disappeared in a burst of speed and took Riser out of the way of harm and caught the dagger with his right palm and threw the dagger at sonic speeds to the source of attack. The poor devil died on the spot when the dagger went right through his face. The entire Phoenix Manor was invaded by 10 devils who were wearing masks, black hood and a black cloak which totally hid their figure and their faces, but it clearly showed their wings, which were shaped like that of a bat. Surges, Greyfire and Akasha were immediately on their guards, but before anybody can do anything, Naruto disappeared in another burst of speed and all the bodies fell dead with blood gushing out of their wounds except one devil which Naruto was holding by its neck. What crazy reflexes! Surges thought, totally amazed by Naruto. He had heard about his skills from Greyfire, but this was the first time he himself saw idle broken bar ... and he was more than impressed. Lord and Lady Phoenix were in the same boat with Surges and Greyfire. Even Riser was astounded to see his younger brother taking care of his attackers in such a swift manner. He was more than intimidated by Naruto. Naruto removed the hood of his attacker and it revealed to be a woman with dark brown hair and black eyes. She looked at Naruto defiantly, but Naruto just gave an emotionless smirk. Who sent you to kill me? The she-devil just looked at him and gave a smirk of her own. You are going to die here today, Naruto, a broken bar. This very moment an army is going to invade the Phoenix territory, a broken bar. Naruto's face became emotionless and then with a swift movement he snatched a holy dagger from under the woman's thighs, which was placed there using a leather strap, and stabbed her in the other thigh. She gave a spine-chilling scream. Everybody was shocked to see Naruto torture the devil like it was a normal thing for him, and it scared the shit out of everyone. Ryaz didn't know what to think about Naruto. Akano was blushing up a storm. Asia was unconscious again and she just woke up a few moments earlier. Konko just glared at Naruto. Sai and Kiba were scared of this monster known as Naruto, and if possible they didn't want to get in his way like ever. I asked who sent you. Tell me and the pain will go away. A broken bar with that. Naruto twisted the dagger to make his point clear. The devil's earlier bravado was lost and she whimpered out, "Tries of him a broken bar. Rise of him von Lucifer." The moment she gave the name Naruto broke her neck and ended her suffering. I think this fight can't be avoided. Anyways, I was itching for a good dance, thought Naruto while humming a jolly tune. Thank you for watching.